You're listening to the True Crime Nation podcast with Todd and Brian. If you're enjoying the show, email us at truecrimenation@outlook.com. Let's start the show. I'm Brian. Right over there, that guy with me is Todd.
Hello.
Good to be back. We got an exciting show tonight. We will be talking about the Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker. What a sick son of a bitch, man. This guy.
Richard Ramirez, for people who don't know who he is.
Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Back in the 80s, right? In L.A. area?
Yeah, 84, 85, around there.
I remember, so I was a teenager, right? We were teenagers then.
Yep.
I'm not sure where I was at that time, what house I lived in, but I remember this scared the living hell out of me, thinking about what this guy was doing, what they were saying this guy was doing. And then when they showed his mugshot or his drawing, that police sketch, that made it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy literally, I was afraid to go to bed at night, knowing that there are people out there doing these kind of things. I mean, they didn't make a big cover up about it. I think they publicized it pretty well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was all over the news back then. But the 80s was the decade of the serial killer, so.
Yeah, a lot of things. So what do you know about this guy? What's your thoughts starting off on this guy here?
Well, you want to start with his background, I'm guessing. So he was born in El Paso, Texas. He just relocated to LA to kill those people. Didn't have the best childhood. So to escape his violent father, Ramirez spent a lot of time with his older cousin, Miguel, who was a Vietnam veteran. Unfortunately, Miguel's influence wasn't that much better than his father's. He was a Vietnam vet, like I said, and apparently had some pictures of him raping, torturing, and dismembering Vietnamese women while he was over there in Vietnam. And he showed them to 13-year-old Richard Ramirez, or Little Richie, as they call him.
Jeez.
And then, a couple of years later, he saw him watched that same cousin shoot his wife and kill her. And then watched him get off from doing that.
He pled insanity.
Got off from the crime. Yeah, they pled insanity and he got off from,
So this guy was a nut job.
Yeah, he had it bad from the beginning. Sounds to me like his whole family wasn't well.
Apparently
in the head.
No, yeah. Apparently he may be idolized for some reason because his father wasn't.
Because his father was abusive, but his cousin was abusive too, just a different way. When he was older and he was in Vietnam, he was a war veteran, not a hero, because obviously he's a piece of shit. But
right,
maybe to Richard, he was a hero. So.
Right, looked up to him.
Yeah.
It says here, American serial killer, rapist, and burglar who murdered at least 13 people in California between 1984 and 1985. 1 year.
1 year he did all that.
He killed at least 13 people. There could be more. He was convicted and sentenced to death, but died while in prison. And I believe that was
cancer.
Cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what kind.
It didn't say, it just said cancer.
13 people in 1 year.
Yep.
That's I think
13 plus. 13 is just the minimum.
Yeah, at least they know of.
Yeah.
That he admitted to, maybe. I think that's the thing that really freaked me out, because it wasn't like you would hear about him like all the time. The Night Stalker strikes again. Lock your doors, lock your windows. This guy's for real. He's breaking into houses and he's killing people.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
He was even, in 84, he was even accused of a 9-year-old girl, murdering a 9-year-old girl. But he wasn't charged with that one in the end, so I don't know.
This guy was just something else. Like I said, every time, every month you'd hear about this,
Yeah.
He wouldn't try to hide these bodies. What he would do, from what I can gather, what I think is his motive thing was, he started off. I think he might have been homeless or just really poor. Obviously, he might have gotten into some Satanism groups or something like that.
Yeah, he was a self-described Satanist.
Okay.
They said.
And I think he was breaking in these richer people's homes to steal stuff, jewelry and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it led to more than that, obviously. It says in June 1984, Ramirez committed his first known murder, raping and stabbing a 79-year-old widow. In 2009, he was implicated in the April 1984 murder of a 9-year-old girl, like you said, after his DNA was determined to be in the crime scene. However, Ramirez was not charged with the crime. 79-year-old widow raped
Yep.
and killed her. This is a
Yeah,
sick.
79.
This guy's a sick bastard.
Yep.
This guy comes about as bad as they get, I think. I don't think they get much worse than this guy.
The only way that'd get much worse if he ate him.
Well, that's true.
But he didn't. So.
I guess. That kind of tops it there.
Yep.
Said he apparently waited 8 months before resuming his killings. Most of his deaths occurred in the Los Angeles area and took place during home invasions. Ramirez's victims, some of whom survived, were often sexually assaulted and beaten, and satanic symbols were found on many of the crime scenes. The Night Stalker, as the killer became known, created a panic that saw a surge in gun sales. Eventually, a fingerprint was discovered that led to Ramirez's identification. Yeah, I remember that. People were going out buying guns and putting a lot. If you started in a home security system back in 1984, you would be loaded man right now in L.A.
Yeah.
Are you kidding
me?
Yeah.
Yep. It also goes on to say he was a self-described Satanist, like we said, and made various references to Satan during his legal proceedings. He notably drew a pentagram on his palm.
What an idiot, man.
Man. This guy was out there.
It says August 30th, 1985, 6 days after his last known murder. Ramirez's name and photograph were released to the public, and the following day, a man in East Los Angeles saw him and notified police. A chase ensued, and Ramirez tried to steal a car. He was surrounded by a crowd and beaten until police arrived. Good for him.
Beat him with a pipe.
Sick bastard.
They should have beat him to death. Cops got there too fast. Yeah, he was I was watching I started to watch a documentary on him a little while ago, and it's one of the, it didn't say it in this paper, but he pulled a woman out of a car and commenced to beat her. That was one of his earlier ones that they accused him of. Yeah, right in the street.
The guy was just warped. And
she didn't die. That one lived. And
women were attracted to him and were writing him letters and wanting to date him and stuff like that.
It's just those women that do that stuff. I don't know. There's a whole subculture of women that I don't know if they still do. I'm sure they do. That marry these lifers that are in prison, these murderers, these crazies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm assuming they still do. I don't think that would have stopped.
If you look at some of his mugshots, he is just one scary looking dude.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy looking for sure.
I mean, if you don't know who he is, you got to look him up.
He's got those, what they call them, dead eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of blink.
He just looks right through you.
Kind of blink.
Yeah.
His trial began in early 1989, and in September, he was convicted of 13 murders and a variety of other crimes. Nearly 2 months later, he was sentenced to death, with the judge stating that his crimes showed cruelty, callousness, and viciousness beyond any human understanding. Ramirez never expressed remorse, and after receiving his sentence, he stated, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory."
Yeah. That should have, right there,
Heartless,
told them exact everything they needed to know about that guy.
Heartless. What do you think causes that in people? What causes that shut
man?
off?
I don't know. There's I don't know. Something in their brain just doesn't doesn't click right. I get. I don't know. I've always wondered that. What is that mindset? What is that? How does that make that okay for them to kill somebody and be all right with it?
Yeah, their conscience. I mean, do they have one or do they just block it out?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Always wondered that.
Yeah, me too. He was believed to have committed other murders and rapes, but was never charged for any additional crimes. While on death row in San Quentin State Prison, Ramirez was diagnosed with cancer. He died in 2013.
Mm-hmm. Man, that guy, what a...
Yeah, if you were born any time in the 70s, I'd say if you're born around the 80s, you probably would remember this guy. But any time in the 70s or earlier, you've heard of this guy. And if you haven't...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You definitely got to look this guy up and check out some documentaries. There's a lot of information on him out there.
Yeah, there's that, like I said, that Netflix documentary.
Says here, August 31st, 1985, serial killer Richard Ramirez walked into a convenience store in Los Angeles. At first, the man known as the Night Stalker seemed like any ordinary shopper.
I imagine he did when he first walked in. I mean, he probably just looked like a normal dude.
Then he noticed his face on the cover of a newspaper and ran for his life. Ramirez was already considered the main suspect in the brutal Night Stalker murders that had terrorized California for over a year. Authorities had only just released the name and picture to the public. I don't know how they pinpointed it that it was him. Was it just by the...
fingerprint.
Fingerprint?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They got a fingerprint off of...
okay, a fingerprint match.
That last victim.
I'm sure he did probably some in and out time in jail before this
I'm sure
started. Yeah. Doesn't really say too much about him on that, but...
Yeah, but if you watch that documentary, it goes into more detail, which we should have had. But, live and learn.
It says... gave residents plenty of time to memorize his physical features and point him out to authorities as he dashed out of the store. It gave Ramirez very little chance to get away, but of course he still tried to escape. The chase involved 7 police cars and a helicopter that tracked Ramirez through the city, but the angry mob of bystanders caught up to him first. Enraged by his heinous crimes, they began to beat him relentlessly. And at least one man used a metal pipe.
Mm-hmm. Angry mob. I never want to get beat by an angry mob.
Says by the time police arrived, Ramirez was practically thanking them for arresting him.
Yeah, he was lucky they came when they did. Angry mobs, they'll beat people to death.
Yeah, this guy is just out there in every way, shape, and form, I mean, you don't think that someone's going to do something like that, but they do, unfortunately,
Oh. I just don't. That's always fascinated me about that mindset. How, at one point in their life, are they born like that, or like with him, was it because his father abused him and his uncle was a nut job too?
Probably.
And that's how he was raised. Is it, what do they say, nurture or nature? Was he born like that already, or was he made like that?
Well, it said he mostly struck women, attacked women, so,
I think that's because of his cousin showing him those pictures and then killing his wife.
That's crazy.
No,
it says here, on March 17th, 1985, he attacked Maria Hernandez, who managed to escape, and then he killed her roommate. Not satisfied with the assault, he also shot and killed Tsai Lin Yu the same evening, spurring a media frenzy that saw Ramirez dubbed the Valley Intruder by the press. Just 10 days later, on March 27th, Ramirez murdered 64-year-old Vincent Zazzara and Zazzara's 44-year-old wife, Maxine, using an attack style that would become a pattern for the killer. The husband was shot first, and the wife was brutally assaulted and stabbed to death. In this case, Ramirez also gouged out Maxine Zazzara's eyes. I mean, come on, this guy, man.
But why? Because she got to look at him? I mean, he's going to kill her anyway. Why go through all that extra work?
I think he was just sick. I think he wanted to see what it was like just to to torture and kill people. I think he got off on it, man. I think that's what his thing was. In his sick ass mind, I think that's
what they said on the documentary. They think it was just fear. He liked the fear in their eyes when he attacked them.
A full-scale police operation yielded no concrete results, and Ramirez repeated his attack pattern on William and Lily Doy in May 1985. Over the next few months, his murder rate escalated, claiming another dozen victims in a frenzy of burglary, assault, and brutal violence, complete with satanic rituals. The Los Angeles Police Department responded by putting together a dedicated task force with FBI stepping in to assist. Well, yeah, you got to do something here.
Yeah, since LA was obviously ill-equipped to take care of that.
The relentless media and police pressure, aided with the descriptions from his surviving victims, forced Ramirez to leave the LA area that August. He journeyed north to San Francisco, where he took two more victims, Peter and Barbara Pan, on August 17th.
Peter Pan?
That was Peter and
Barbara. He killed Peter Pan?
He killed Peter Pan.
That's bullshit, man.
That's why the peanut butter is no good anymore. Killed Peter Pan, dude.
Killed Peter Pan.
His unmistakable MO, complete with satanic symbolism, meant that the Valley Intruder moniker was no longer applicable. The press quickly coined the new name the Night Stalker, as most of his assaults took place at night in his victims' homes. Yeah, he'd wait till they'd go to sleep at night. Yeah. He'd sleep all day and stay up all night, and he'd break in the middle of the night on people when they were unexpected, and
better time to do it.
Just boom, shoot them dead and do whatever, stab them, whatever.
Rape them. Yeah, he was bad. He was one of the worst, I'd say.
Ramirez's actions on his final night of terror on August 24th, 1985, soon led to his capture. First, he was spotted outside a Mission Viejo home, where he unwittingly left a footprint before the witness took note of his car and license plate. Later, after Ramirez raped another woman at her home and shot her fiancé, the victim provided a detailed description of her assailant, who had forced her to swear her love for Satan. Maybe that's why he didn't kill her. Ramirez's abandoned car was found a few days later, complete with enough of a fingerprint to make a match, and his criminal record enabled the police to finally put a name to the Night Stalker. National TV and print media coverage featured this prison photo, along with a series of clues from the witness and survivors, led to his capture on August 31st, after he was badly beaten in East LA. Yep, he didn't look that bad in this picture. I mean, I could have done more damage to this dude than that. It shows a picture of this guy. I'm looking at a thing on the internet here, and
beat him around the body.
Says Ramirez waited in jail as his trial continuously pushed off, the delay marked by a series of motions and bickering between the prosecutors and defense attorney. Because the geographical spread of the crimes also complicated the scope of the trial with jurisdictional issues, some of the charges against Ramirez were dropped in order to expedite what was becoming a long journey to justice. The jury
that just goes to show you how screwed up the justice system is and was. That the counties didn't share anything.
Yeah.
So, and that back then, I'm sure they do now, but
were they being selfish or something like that? Where they wanted?
No, they just don't.
They wanted to convict them in their thing. I mean,
I don't know. Who knows what the reasoning is?
Says the jury selection process finally moved forward on July 22nd, 1988, and the trial itself commenced the following January. During this time, Ramirez attracted a cult-like following of supporters, many of whom were black-clad Satan worshippers. Ramirez himself often dressed in black, along with dark shades for his courtroom appearances. Yeah, people were following this dude, liking this dude. They wouldn't have liked him if he would have broken their house and shot him, would they?
Nope.
I mean,
but that's just the mentality of those.
We haven't really had.
Those are the kind of people that fall into cults and stuff.
There's been one or two other serial killers that I know of that broke into people's houses and did this to them, and we'll talk about those guys down the road. But there's really not too many that do that. It's pretty much they get you when you're outside of your home. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This guy didn't mess around. He came right to you and did what he wanted to do.
Sure did.
Another delay occurred when the juror was found murdered on August 4th, 1989. Well, let me read that again. Yet another delay occurred when a juror was found murdered on August 14th, 1989. But rumors that Ramirez had orchestrated her death proved unfounded.
No, it was probably one of those crazy people that were following him. I'm sure he didn't have anything to do with it, but you never know.
One of his,
because he wasn't like Charles Manson. He wasn't the cult leader. You know, he wasn't the guy that sent people out to kill people. He was a serial killer.
Yeah, I know. And I think you're right, Brian. I think one of his followers, one of his cultists did that. Mm-hmm. Somehow watched these people leave if they left. How would they have killed them? I mean, I guess they got to leave they didn't need to be in a hotel locked up for this thing or what?
Well, you would think they'd be sequestered, but who knows? Back then, who knows?
On September 20th, 1989, the jury finally returned a unanimous guilty verdict on 43 charges, including 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 sexual assault charges, and 14 burglary charges. Guy's got a resume, doesn't he?
Well, he had one.
2 weeks later, the same jury recommended the death sentence on 19 counts. Ramirez, leaving the courtroom, responded, "I'll see you in Disneyland." The convicted murderer was formally sentenced to death in the gas chamber on November 7th, 1989. Hey, that's your birthday.
Yep. Well, that's something.
And was sent to San Quentin prison. Well, you weren't born in 1989.
No, totally different year.
And was sent to San Quentin prison in California to spend the remainder of his days. Oh, man, this dude. You remember this guy when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
You remember hearing about this?
Yep. But, you know, I was young. Didn't faze me. He was in California, not Podunk, Indiana.
I know, but still, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. I mean, but something like that could happen anywhere.
True. That's why it was scary. Could happen anywhere.
Yep.
Here you go. While incarcerated, Ramirez married one of his supporters, 41-year-old Doreen Loy, in 1996.
There you go.
I just don't understand people. There. I don't understand. His long-awaited appeal finally made it to the California State Supreme Court in 2006 before being rejected. Oh, too bad, Richard. Too bad.
That's too bad.
He was eventually linked to more vicious crimes. In 2009, a DNA sample connected him with the April 10th, 1984 rape and murder of a 9-year-old girl in San Francisco. It's one thing to kill adults.
Yeah, the older people that he was doing, but a 9-year-old.
Ted Bundy did the same damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys just don't have... I don't think they have a level of remorse, to be honest with you. They can't. They couldn't.
No, you can't. You can't. And be a serial killer. You just can't. There's no way. You can't have any compassion. You can't have any empathy, any care for human life, period.
Here's what gets me. This statement here. After 24 years on death row, Ramirez died on June 7th, 2013 at the age of 53 from complications related to B-cell lymphoma. 24 years on death row. This guy was a monster.
Yep, and they were paying for him
this guy to was live. A freaking monster. He was one.
Should have executed him on the courthouse lawn.
They should have let the crowd just kill him.
I said that already. Should have let him. Cops should have just waited and let the crowd beat him to death.
We couldn't get to him in time.
We tried, but like traffic. Yeah.
24 years. I mean, I know that there's a lot of crazy, demented, bad, terrible, horrible people out there in prison that are on death row for a long time. But this guy, they should have moved this one along a little bit, in my
That's why I think
opinion.
they should bring back courthouse law and executions. I don't care what it is: guillotines, gallows, firing squad. If you're convicted of and given the death penalty, there ain't no waiting. There ain't no paying for these guys to sit in prison for 20 years while they're waiting their turn. That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And a lot of people are probably going to disagree with that, but that's my feeling. If you're given the death penalty for heinous crimes like this guy committed, execution should be instant.
Yeah, within hours.
Yep.
It says before the elusive killer was identified, detectives
And
were
publicly.
Yeah, publicly for sure. That's not moral, though. Can't do that. says It says before the elusive killer was identified, detectives were able to determine that footprints left at the scenes could be linked back to a particular uncommon Avia brand shoe. They were able to figure out that only one person in Los Angeles owned this particular model in that particular size. How did they know that? Wait a minute.
Well, if you can track them down, I mean, I'm sure they have.
Did you sell a size 11 and a half Avia?
Right.
Were they? Oh, that's what. Okay, I see what they're saying. They must have been a really expensive brand of shoe that he stole.
Oh.
And then they saw. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. So he stole it from a victim and was wearing them to other scenes, and they noticed that, hey, this is the guy. This guy stole these shoes from these people. How they knew that? There must have been a survivor. I don't know, but it says, but as the series notes, it was Ramirez's teeth that also played a big role during the detective's quest to identify the killer.
Did he bite somebody?
Well, it says
Like Ted Bundy?
it says after all, rotting teeth become a constant and consistent detail in witness descriptions.
Rotting teeth.
Esther Peshar observed Ramirez buying an AC/DC hat, which was later left at a crime scene at a thrift store, then ran into him on the freeway afterwards. She said his grin, which was full of missing teeth, made him look like a killer clown. Yeah,
good description.
Like I said, if you look at some of his mugshots, he's got one where his teeth are just I mean...
Oh, I'm sure.
He might as well had fangs. That's
It's
probably
the
what
evil
he's trying to do.
coming out in him. The evil ate his teeth. And probably drugs.
Glenn Creso, working as a librarian at the Los Angeles Public Library when Ramirez walked in, he recalled that the killer had absolutely disgusting, rotting teeth. Adults and kids alike described him as having brown, stained, gapped teeth. So that was one of the things that kind of helped convict him too, how people noticed him.
That would be a dead giveaway. No pun intended.
Anyway, that was another part of how they caught this guy. It's weird how they catch these guys, but it takes that kind of stuff to happen. And with DNA nowadays, they might have caught this guy sooner before he killed so many people. It's just,
if it happened now, they would have. Yeah.
I mean,
but back in the mid '80s, early mid '80s, it wasn't quite as fancy as it is now.
You remember the movie? What was the sequel to Red Dragon? Did you ever see that movie?
No.
That guy in that movie, I wonder if they tailored off Richard Ramirez. He would stalk people's houses, and if they had a little dog, he would wait outside for the dog to come outside, and he would take the dog, so it couldn't alert. Like people's dogs would come up missing, and then he would break in their house the next night, so the dog couldn't bark, and and then he'd shoot him, kill him, whatever. It's a demented movie.
Smart.
Silence of the Lambs, the Red Dragon, all that crazy shit. So, but yeah, this guy Richard Ramirez, he tops the list pretty much. Top 3 for me, for sure.
Yeah, he's up there.
The scariness of him, and the ruthlessness of him, and just being able to walk in, shoot you, and take your stuff, and not think
just
twice about it.
The blatant disregard for human life. Just
I wonder if he had a silencer or if he just, I mean, people had to hear gunshots, were they not?
You would think.
Or maybe they
Of course,
were
it's
just,
L.A.
well,
It's East L.A. and it's probably gunshots all over the
I
place.
hear it all the time.
Or he grabbed a pillow. One of the two.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hard to say at this point, but
I'm just, like I said, it kind of just floors me that people can think and do those kind of things. But they're out there. They're real. They do what they do, So,
yeah, for sure.
Well,
For sure.
We'll wrap this episode up, man. And anyway.
So, yeah, if anybody that listens to this and you're a psychologist or psychiatrist or something, shoot us an email at truecrimenation@outlook.com and let us know. Give us something about these guys' brain, how it works and what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Fascinating. We will definitely dig into this more as we go along.
Yep. Thanks, listeners, for being here and listening to us. Brian, had fun with you doing this episode, man.
Yeah, man. It's always fun.
Wrap this up and we'll look forward to our next sick and demented discussion about some crazy crime going on.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot.
All right, with that, we'll wrap this up. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Brian, thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure, man.
And remember,
monsters are real.